Thank you very much, Carlton. Is everybody sitting comfortably?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we'll... Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there lived a lovely queen who longed to have a child whose skin was white as snow, with cheeks as rosy as blood, and hair as dark as ebony. Her wish came true not long after, and she gave birth to a beautiful daughter, whom she called Snow White. But shortly after naming her baby, the queen died. Aww. Aww. The king soon married again, but although the new queen was very beautiful, she was also extremely vain and full of pride and self-importance. She loved only herself, and her heart was full of wickedness. The new queen paid no attention to Snow White, as she was far too preoccupied with gazing into her magic mirror to ask,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?"
And morning and night the mirror replied,
"You are."
However, because the new queen had completely ignored Snow White, she had not seen what a beautiful lady Snow White had become. Then, one dreadful morning, the new queen stood in front of her mirror, preening herself and said,
"Slave in the magic mirror, come from the farthest space. Through wind and darkness I summon thee. Speak, let me see thy face."
Alright, alright. Cut that fancy language and also side effects. What do you want to know?
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?"
Wow, you were the most fairest of them all. But you're no longer the fairest of them all.
"What? Do I have a spot?"
No, no. The oil of Yule eliminates all those fine wrinkles on your face. And that three-step system from Clinique works wonders on your skin.
"Excuse me, we'll have no advertising in this production, thank you very much." Sorry.
So, tell me, mirror, if I'm not the fairest, who is?
Can I give you a clue? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Lips, red as rose. Hair, black as ebony. And skin, that's right, white as snow.
Snow White?
Yep, you got it in one. Did I give it away with that skin white as snow bit?
Shut up, you stupid mirror! I shall have to hatch a plan.
And so, boo her off the stage, everybody. The nasty wicked queen went off to think of a way to kill Snow White. Meanwhile, Snow White, wherever she may be, was taking a leisurely Sunday afternoon stroll through the woods. Here she comes, beautiful Snow White. And what have we here? Suddenly, the Queen's huntsman appeared looking rather sheepish. I said looking sheepish, not looking like a sheep.
Oh, sorry.
Oh dear.
Ah, beautiful day to walk in the forest, isn't it, Snow White?
Yes, Graham. It's a lovely day.
There was an uncomfortable pause while Snow White tried to... He's behind you!
Yeah.
Well, he was.
As I said, it's a beautiful day to walk in the forest, isn't it, Snow White?
It's behind you.
What's behind us? There's nothing behind it.
There was an uncomfortable pause while Snow White tried to think of something to say to make conversation.
So, what are you out hunting today? Foxes, rabbits, a pheasant or two?
He's behind you!
I've come to this beautiful forest to hunt something royal.
The huntsman was afraid to tell her that the Queen had instructed him to kill Snow White.
Excuse me, did she just say you're out here to kill me?
I didn't think you could hear her.
Well, I can!
Sorry, did I give the game away?
How am I going to do it? If you're going to give the game away, you're grassing me up here. I'm going to do my job. stepmother, innit? I mean, like, you know, she looks in the mirror all the time. She neglects you. She suddenly realised that you're more beautiful than her. And I lose my job unless I kill you. Or you could run. Run like the wind! Run! Run, Snow White!
And so Snow White ran and ran, further and further into the forest, away from the Queen and the palace. She ran and ran over brambles and bushes, through streams and ditches, until she could run no longer. Then she looked up and saw. What did she see? I wonder.
An edible cottage. I'm starving. Here we go again. I bet you a fudge lolly, but it's just going to be about sweet, okay? Yes, what are you and who are you and what are you doing?
It's that Snow White woman. What you're trying to do, muscling your way into our story for. This is our house. You go and find your own sweetie house.
Yeah, your own sweet.
How?
Your own. You know, there is just one, which is a quite long walk oven if you want to have some exercise. Number 24, just over there. Have a nice friend. Exercise, I mean.
And so Snow White continued on wearily further and further into the forest, poor Snow White, through more brambles and bushes, through more streams and ditches. Poor Snow White was exhausted until she saw.
A door?
Look, we couldn't afford the frontage of a whole house, not with our drama budget. So, I'm sure the lovely audience knows that this door signifies a house, don't you, audience?
Yeah. Oh, no, it don't!
Oh, yes, you do!
Oh, no, we don't!
Oh, yes, you do!
Oh, no, we don't!
Oh, yes, you do! Look, don't start all that pantomime nonsense with me. I haven't got time for all that. I've got a story to tell. Anyway, where was I? Yes, sorry. So, Snow White went up and knocked on the door. But there was no reply. So she knocks again, a bit louder. A door that knocks back.
There doesn't seem to be anyone home. Oh, look! 3 bowls of porridge.
3 bowls? Where are the other 4? And porridge? It should be bread and honey. Don't you backstage crew know your props list?
Sorry, there was no bread and honey. And curtain shut by the time we got there.
That's no excuse. Tesco and Asda, they're open 24 hours, aren't they?
Hello, no advertising.
Sorry, do apologise. Anyway, where was I? That's right. So, Snow White sat down and helped herself to all those bowls of porridge as she was starving from doing so much running. Come on, Snow White, get a move.
Sorry.
I thought you was hungry. Are they tasty?
There's some Weetabix.
Here's some popcorn.
After eating all those bowls of porridge, I'm sure Snow White was very full. Get a move on. Snow White was very full and decided to have a lie down. She sat down on the first bed, but got up immediately as it was far too hard. She sat down on the second bed, but that was far too soft. The third bed, that was too narrow. The fourth bed was too itchy. The fifth bed, well, looked too dirty. And the sixth bed, well, let's just say that Snow White wasn't really into polyester. By the time Snow White got to the 7th bed, she was so exhausted, she curled up and fell asleep. Not long after Snow White had fallen asleep, the 7 vertically challenged inhabitants of the cottage came home.
Hi-ho!
Come on, audience, sing along.
Hi-ho! Hi-ho! It's off to where we go!
Well done.
Hi-ho! 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 Hi-ho!
Dearie, dearie me, be careful, please. But when the tiny individuals...
Excuse me, we're dwarfs.
Exactly.
Well, sorry, I can't use that word, it's not politically correct.
Not politically correct. That's ridiculous. We don't do politically correct.
And besides, technically speaking, you're not that short, are you? And for the purpose of the story, you're all small of stature, okay?
Typical.
As I was saying, when the tiny individuals got to their house, they discovered that the front door was open.
Oh no, there's someone in our house. Mark my words, there's trouble brewing here. Found it all day.
It's Snow White. That's a bad sign. No, guys, no. Don't be afraid. Remember what we learned last night. God has not given us the spirit of fear.
God has not given us a spirit of fear. He has given unto us a spirit of power, a spirit of love, and a sound mind.
Sing.
Quiet, you fool! Found the time to be sneezing.
Sorry. Well, we once got it, ain't it? Oh no. Another one.
Oh, don't let him.
Stop it. I'll tie him.
Make her up. Make her up.
Okay. That will hold it.
Don't let him
That will
go.
hold it. That will hold it. You guys, man. You jokers. Let him sneeze.
Quiet, you fool! Want to get us killed?
Sorry.
Snow White awoke with a start.
Hello, little men. How do you do? I said, how do you do?
How do you do what?
Oh, you can talk. I'm so glad.
She's clever, isn't she?
So what are your names?
My name's Doc. This is Sleepy. Sneezy. He's the one that woke you up.
Sorry.
Oh, Sneezy. That's an odd, if yet a descriptive name.
This is Happy.
Hiya. Nice to meet you.
This is Happy.
Hi.
This is Sleepy.
I have to go to bed after all this excitement. And this is Grumpy.
I would say pleased to meet you. That's if I was pleased. But I'm not. So
Yes, all right, Grumpy. Don't be rude to our guest.
that's Dopey.
He doesn't talk much.
You mean he can't talk?
No, he never tried. He don't know.
Oh, God.
Yeah, poor him.
So who are you and what are you doing in our house?
Exactly.
I'm Snow White.
Snow White, the princess.
Yes.
Well, my dear princess. No, princess. We're honoured. We're
Bad as hornets!
Bad as cornets. No, we're not. What was I saying?
Nothing, just spluttering like a dupla bug.
Who's bossing like a spoon dog?
Oh, shut up! Tell her to get out!
No, please don't make me go. If you do, she'll kill me.
Kill you? Who will?
The Queen, my stepmother.
She's bad. She's mighty mean.
She's an old witch! I'm warning you. If she finds that she's here, she'll swoop down and be cast on the door!
But she doesn't know I'm here.
Doesn't know her. She knows everything. She's filled with black magic. She can even make herself invisible. Come in this room.
But she'll never find me here. And if you let me stay, I'll keep your house tidy for you. I'll wash and sew and sweep and cook.
Cool.
Can you make a dapple? Oh no, dapple lumpkin. No, lumple dappling. Oh, what is it?
Apple dumplings.
Yeah, and fish and chips and bangers and mash.
Fish and chips.
Bangers and mash. Hooray! She says.
And so, it was decided that Snow White would stay with the 7 dwarfs. Has anyone ever heard of that word? Spoon bug or whatever it was? Does anyone know what it means? Doodlebug, Speedlebug, I've no idea. And I've no idea. And Dapple Lumpkins. Hands up anyone that's made Dapple Lumpkins.
Airport dumplings.
For Dapple Lumpkins.
Airport dumplings, not Dapple dumplings.
Apple, sorry?
Airport dumplings.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh,
No.
sorry. I've no idea. Apple pie. I love apple pie. Would anyone like to hear a joke? Why did the teacher wear dark glasses?
I don't know.
Because her pupils were so bright. I shall carry on now. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the Queen was preening herself once again in front of her magic mirror.
Mirror, mirror, who is the fairest of them all?
You don't really want to know, do you?
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do.
Excuse me, can we just get on with it, please?
So, Mirror, tell me, who is the fairest of them all?
Well, I'm afraid it's still Snow White. She's the fairest of them all. The Snow Whites have her in her house.
Snow White? But she's dead! My husband killed her, and he brought me this as proof.
Proof?
Yes,
Proof of what? Where did you find that?
this is Snow White's heart.
No, it's not. It's a Valentine's card I sent to my little cute Hannah Mirror, who's now my fiancée this year.
A cardboard heart? Then I've been tricked!
You're not the smartest cookie in the box, are you?
Stupid, Mirror! I shall have to hatch it out. I shall go myself to the little man's cottage in a disguise so complete, no one will suspect it's me. And I'll make sure this time that she's dead!
Boo! Come on, join in, children. Boo!
Yes, my magic spell to transform my beauty.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you just go down to the local charity shop and buy some of those old clothes instead of messing about with all that magic stuff? Because you know these spells, they'll be the death of you. Do you know that?
Mummy Dusto make me old, to shroud my clothes, the black of night, to age my voice, an old hag's cackle, ha ha ha, to whiten my hair, a scream of fright, a blast of wind, to fan my hate, a thunderbolt to mix it well. Now begin thy magic spell.
And now a special kind of death for one's What shall it be? I know! I'll tempt Snow White with beautiful, fashionable accessories, because everybody knows that a girl loves her handbags and shoes.
And with that, the wicked Queen set off into the forest.
How are you today?
Hello, dear.
Hi, I'm on my way to church. Would you like to join me?
Church?
Yes.
I go to my own church, thank you very much.
Okay, what church is that?
It's the spiritualist church around the corner.
Oh, yes, I know which one you're on about. Anyway, the Bible says the acts of the sinful nature are obviously hatred, witchcraft, sexual immorality,
Is she calling me a witch?
Yes.
Oh, yes, she is.
Oh, yes, she is.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, yes, she is.
The Queen was furious that the lady had found a Bible verse that so accurately described her. So the Queen stormed off, feeling rather convicted but far too proud to admit it or do anything about it. The Queen carried on her way through the forest until she came to the cottage where the 7 dwarfs lived. So the Queen knocked on the door.
Who is it? Lady, I'm selling some accessories. Would you like to open the door? Okay. Good girl. Hello. I've got some. Sure? No, they're disgusting. And knife. Got one like that. Mobile phones. Oh, I've got something you like. I've got some bell. Not really that style, but yeah. Oh, I know. You like the new ones they have in fashion, don't you? Come on, little girl, we'll give it a try. Come on, don't be shy, little girl. Come on, come on. There you go. You would like this one.
And before Snow White could object, the Queen had put the belt around Snow White's waist and was pulling the belt tighter and tighter.
No, really? Stop, stop. That's too tight. Don't be silly. They wear them this tight these days. They do. Yes, they do.
Oh no, they don't.
Yes, they do.
Oh no, they don't.
Shut up.
The Queen kept pulling until Snow White collapsed onto the floor. The Queen cackled.
The fairest of them all.
And with that, the Queen ran off into the woods back to the palace. Just then, the 7 dwarfs came home.
Hi-ho!
Join in, everybody.
Hi-ho! Hi-ho! It's off to where we go! Hi-ho! 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 Hi-ho!
Snow White's collapsed. What?
So the 7 dwarfs cut through the belt, and Snow White started to breathe again.
Snow White, are you okay?
Say something so we know you're alright.
Where's the old lady gone?
Which old lady?
The one selling fashionable accessories.
Fashionable accessories. We never get door-to-door salesmen. It's too far for them to come.
Old lady? I don't think that was some old lady. That was the wicked old hat of the Queen! She tricked you!
You're in trouble, aren't you? Now she knows where you are.
Hey, Snow White. That was the question. I mean, 7 years old. She never killed you. You have been ex-princess by now. I think God sent you for a reason.
What do you mean?
Well, would you have gone to heaven or hell if you died?
Well, I've never really thought about it before. But I suppose I would have gone to heaven because I'm not as nasty as the Queen.
Have you ever lied?
Well, yeah. Hasn't everybody?
Well, that's true. All of us here and them there are all sinners. We've all done something wrong, lied, cheated, fornicated, loved something that somebody else has. Because you're better than the wicked Queen doesn't mean you go to heaven.
Oh. Then how do I make sure I get into heaven? Because I sure don't want to go to hell.
Yeah, you don't want to go there. Piece of weeping. Gnashing of teeth. That's what the Bible says.
Then how do I make sure I get to heaven?
Pray!
Oh.
Pray. We'll pray with you if you like.
Yes, please.
Oh, that's good.
And so the 7 dwarfs led Snow White through the sinner's prayer. She repented of her sin, asked Jesus to come into her life, and thanked him for dying a horrible death on a cross so that she could live eternally in heaven. When they'd finished praying, Doc gave her a Bible and said,
Read this, it'll help you understand more, and don't keep getting tempted by these material items. You need to keep that door shut, read your Bible, pray, and just focus on God. Don't go getting distracted.
Thanks, you guys. You saved my life.
Oh, you got that wrong. We didn't save your life. Jesus did. If he hadn't died on the cross, me and you and them would have to pay the penalty.
Yeah, and the wages of sin is death.
Oh, thanks, you guys. Thanks for praying with me.
Oh, that's fine. God washed all the sins away. You're as white as snow now.
And so, that night, they all went to sleep safe and sound.
Good night.
Good night, dwarfs.
Good night, dwarfs.
Is everybody having a good time?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Take another joke.
Do you want another joke? Are you sure you can stand it? Okay, knock knock. Boo. Don't cry, it's only a joke. The next morning, as the dwarfs were about to leave for work, they reminded Snow White, oh
Don't
dear.
open the door. Right, we're going to work now. So you will remind Snow White, won't you? You need to tell her not to open the door. So if the Wicked Queen comes, you need to tell Snow White, don't open the door. Let's have a quick practice run. Grumpy, you look like the Wicked Queen. Go over there. Don't be getting to Snow White.
Hello, Snow White. I'm the Wicked Queen come to kill you. Could you open the door?
What do you shout, children?
Don't open the door! I have some corsets here designed to kill.
Come on.
Don't open the door!
Well, at least we know we can trust you. Right, we're off to work now. Come on, let's go.
Hi-ho!
Everybody ready?
Hi-ho! Hi-ho! It's off to work we go!
I think you've left one behind.
Hi-ho! 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 Hi-ho!
And off they went to work. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the Queen was admiring herself in the mirror.
Mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
Why do you keep asking me? It's obvious you want it to be you.
Of course, but I have to make sure. So tell me, who is the fairest of them all?
Well, you're not gonna like the answer.
Of course I am. It's me, isn't it?
Can't we talk about something else other than your self-obsession?
No, tell me now.
I think you should sit down, Your Majesty.
Why?
No, it's just that I don't want you to get a bruised bottom when you fall over from shock.
Shock? Why? Mira, tell me now. Who
You-
is the fairest of them all?
You're still not sitting.
Tell me.
It's Snow White.
Snow White? But I killed her!
Obviously not.
And with that, the Queen stormed off to hatch yet another plan. Does anybody like this horrible, nasty, wicked Queen? No. Thank goodness for that. Oh, goodness. And doesn't Snow White... Sorry?
I don't want to kill Snow.
No, nobody wants to kill Snow White.
Did yours find out that they got married?
Oh, honestly. It's a nasty, wicked Queen. We need to sort this Queen out.
Oh yes, we will.
Back at the cottage, Snow White was sat by the window reading her Bible. And who's this in disguise? Boo! She can't fool us, can she? No. No, it's you. You can't hide. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door.
Ding dong! Anyone calling? Who did you say it was? It's Ava, dear. I've got some bargains and they're all at end of midnight. You wouldn't
Come on, children.
Open the door!
See?
Yeah, you would have given me some bargains. That's okay. Yeah, I can't open the door. It's alright. We'll go to the window.
And with that, the wicked Queen started to rummage in her basket. She pulled out a bottle of perfume and held it up for Snow White to see.
I have this lovely new fragrance from Givenchy. Oh, absolutely irresistible. Would you like to try some there?
Very Snow White. Snow White was so entranced, she opened the window and held out her wrist. Oh no! The Queen sprayed the poison perfume onto Snow White's wrist. As soon as Snow White smelt it, she collapsed as the toxic fume entered her lungs. Oh dear. The Queen cackled.
Absolutely irresistible And now I'm the most irresistible
Nasty Queen. And with that, the Queen ran off into the forest, back to the palace. Thankfully, Sneezy was on his way back to the cottage, as he'd forgotten to take his tissues to work with him. When he got to the house, he started sneezing more, bless you, and realised that something wasn't right. As he opened the door, he saw Snow White lying on the floor. He grabbed a handkerchief to put across his face and dragged Snow White out into the fresh air. Poor Snow White. As soon as Snow White started to breathe in the fresh air, she started to come around.
Snow White, what happened here?
An Avon lady came round with some perfume.
Avon lady? Yeah. That wasn't Heather, was it?
Open
the door!
I didn't open the door. I opened the window.
Just then, the other dwarfs came home. Ready, everybody?
I-ho, it's home from work we go. I-ho, 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 I-ho.
Boy, that's things, man.
Hello, Snow White. Sneezy, why have you got a handkerchief on your face? And what's that awful smell? Is that you again?
That wicked witch tried to kill Snow White again.
What? That wicked old hag of the Queen?
Oh, yeah.
But I thought we told you not to open the door to anyone, and you were meant to remind her.
Oh, they did remind me.
No, you didn't.
Oh, yes, we did. Oh, yes, we did.
This happened then.
Because I ignored them and... Well, actually, I didn't ignore them. I opened the window instead.
How could you be so stupid?
She was offering bargains. It was so tempting. I just couldn't resist. And they were ending at midnight, so I couldn't buy them any of the time.
Have you heard this? Bargains. Didn't you resist? You've got to resist them. In the Bible, it says, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. You can't keep giving into his fleshly desires. In the Bible, Samson did, and he ended up dead. You don't want that, do you?
No, I'm sorry, Jack. It's just what we intend.
Shall we pray again and ask God to forgive you?
Yes, please.
And so the 7 dwarfs gathered around Snow White, and they all began to pray that Snow White would be able to resist the next temptation that was thrown her way. After they had finished praying, Snow White felt much better and promised the dwarfs that she would try her very best not to be deceived by the wicked queen again. Off you go.
See ya.
Bye.
Good night.
Those dwarfs, where did we get them from?
Say another joke.
Another one. Are you sure you want to hear it?
No.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, no, we don't.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, yes, we do.
I've got to read this one because this was just given to me earlier on. I rang the builders the other day to ask for a skip outside my house. Do you know what they said?
No.
You can do anything you like, love, it's your house. Thank you. The next day, the dwarfs went off to work.
Right, Snow White, don't open the door or the window to anyone. Right. What do you shout if the wicked queen tries to get Snow White to open the door?
Don't open the door!
What about if the wicked queen tries to get her to open the window?
Don't open the window!
Do you think we can trust them?
Maybe. Again.
Don't open the door!
What about the window?
Don't open the window!
See you later.
Ready, children? It's off to work we go. There they go.
I hope.
Come on, Dopey. Somebody sort him out, please. Sorry. It's that Dopey, there's always one. There's always one. Back at the palace. Boo! The wicked queen was cooking her gorilla. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. I haven't got my glasses on, sorry. No, the wicked queen was looking in her mirror, that's right. Oh dear, I should have gone to Specsavers.
Mirror, mirror.
I tell you what, I say you all the trouble. You're stewing at the fairest of them all. Snow White is. Look, these lovely people have got homes to go to. You know, they haven't got time to listen to you going on and on about yourself. Ouch.
Snow White? But is she invincible or something?
No. But what I understand, she's a child of God, you know, a Christian. She's protected.
Child of God?
Yes.
Protected? We'll see about that.
Ooh.
What do I have here? Out of poison apples. I will tempt Snow White with a poison apple. Eve fell for the apple trick. I don't know why Snow White should be any different.
And so the wicked queen set about making up a poison that would kill poor Snow White for good. Isn't she a nasty queen?
Yes, she is.
Where did we find her from? What should we do with her? I think we should send her away. Poor Snow White, that wicked queen's always after Snow White. We'll have to sort her out. No, we'll sort her out, don't worry. I'm sure the dwarfs will sort her out.
Oh yes, we will.
You better. When the queen, I think I can see her through all this mist. When the queen was happy with her deadly concoction, she set off for the 7 dwarfs' house. Ooh, here she comes.
I have the perfect plan. This time Snow White shall die. I'm going to poison one side of my lovely apple and offer that side to Snow White after I've taken a bite of the other side that's not poison, so she can be tempted.
Nasty wicked
Snow
queen.
White shall be no more. Oh, perfect plan.
Nice to see you again. I've been wanting to meet you again. How are you today?
I don't like you.
Join me.
I told you I go to my own church.
Oh, yeah, you said the spiritual change, but anyway, Jesus died on the cross.
I don't want to know about Jesus. Do you know what I want to do? I want to beat you up.
Oh, no. That those who live like this will not inhabit the kingdom of God.
Ooh, that nasty. She's so wicked.
Look at it again. Try to get me to go to church. Oh, isn't she beautiful?
Yes, she is.
Oh, yes, she is.
Hello, dear. Hello. All alone? No.
Open the window!
Too late. It's already out.
Ooh.
Little Bella here today. Well, no, they're at work. Oh, are you making some pie?
Boo!
Who shall I spray the red side? The red. The red. No. It's my turn. Green side. Hello there. Who was that on the telephone?
Oh, it was just a random.
Oh, back to the apples. Anyone that I can buy?
No.
Don't eat
The apple.
They're warned against accepting things from old ladies.
Oh, don't be silly. How about I take a bite on one side, and then you can take a bite because the apple will be fine, won't it? If I have a bite. Yeah.
No.
Which side could I spray again? I can't remember.
Which side was it, children?
Red.
Yeah, red.
Red. Yes.
So if I bite the green side, yeah? Yeah. Just give it to me.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Oh dear.
Old lady.
Something's happening.
Old lady.
Wrong side.
Oh dear.
Are you okay? Stop. It's dialing. Wait 1 second. No. Quick, Duck, answer the phone. Duck, answer the phone.
Snow White, are you okay?
I'm okay.
Is the Wicked Queen after you?
Well, yes. Well, no. Well, she was, but now she's kind of poisoned herself and she's dying. Quick.
Okay, we're on our way. Come on.
Quick, we need to pray for her.
Pray for her? What? When did she die, quicker? She's taking a long time at the moment.
No. To pray she gets healed.
Healed? Have you lost your mind?
No. Jesus had prayed for the sick. And I read in my Bible today that he gave us the authority to do the same in his name.
She's got a point. She's got a point. Come on, let's pray.
And so Snow White and the 7 dwarfs gathered around the queen and prayed for her, that she would be healed and that the poison would leave her body in Jesus' name.
Oh, scary.
I'm alive! Why did you let me die?
Because you're
Yeah. Why didn't you?
Get us some.
Because you're not ready to die yet.
I don't understand.
You don't have Jesus on your side. And if you died without Jesus, then you would have gone to hell. And none of us want anyone to go to hell, do we?
I deserve to die and go to hell.
We all deserve to die and go to hell. Just because we've not as bad as you doesn't mean we're worthy of heaven. The Bible says that we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But God sent down his only son, Jesus, into the world to die on a cross so we could live eternally in heaven. But if you don't repent of your sins, ask forgiveness and accept Jesus into your life, then you've still got that price to pay.
I could never be as good as you. I've done so many evil and bad things in my life.
Of course you can. All you need to accept Jesus in your life and he'll do the rest. Would you like us to pray with you now?
Yes, this Jesus guy sure sounds like a nice guy.
And so that day the queen turned over a new leaf. She gave her heart to Jesus and threw away all her magic books. Even the magic mirror had to go.
No! I'm going to get married! No!
And they all lived eternally, happily ever after. The end.